Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility.
Hey, welcome back to the Springs in the Desert podcast. I'm Jillian, your host, and I am joined by team member Stacey. How are you doing today, Stacey?
I'm doing great. The sun came out today. It's a very cold day, but the sun came out and I can deal with that.
I am somewhat grateful for the fact that a lot of people across the nation are having a cold front because in North Dakota, feels like it's always cold. And we had record temps this weekend. It was 70 below wind chill this weekend, but it felt a little bit better that a lot of people were also cold. I didn't feel so bad. I hope that everyone is warm and can listen to this with a cup of coffee.
Maybe
Today,
a blanket too.
We are going to, a blanket. Love that. Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the 5 love languages. This month, we've been talking all about keeping the spark alive in your marriage, and there are many ways to do that. And I'm grateful that people have gone before me to talk about the ways that we can do that and categorize them. So the 5 love languages, last week's episode, there was a quiz attached, and we'll do that today too. We'll put that in the show notes, a quiz to figure out maybe what your love language is. But there are 5 love languages. There's acts of service, physical touch, gift giving, words of affirmation, and quality time. Stacey, do you know which of the love languages? Sometimes I think some people have one really strong one and maybe like a couple that are just below that. But do you know what your love languages are?
Yeah, and they sometimes shift and change over time. But
yes.
I think right now, acts of service is really high up there, and also quality time. Those are 2 strong contenders for me at the moment. I think too that the love languages, sometimes people give a bad rap to gifts in my experience. And that I've had seasons where gifts has been important to me. And talking with my husband most recently, that has, I think, been a bigger one for him, actually, that he shared, that gifts were important to him, which they weren't for a very long time. And then he came into the season where he was like, I think gifts are really important to me. And so making sure that I go out of my way to remember him, which I'm good at sometimes, but also sometimes not good at too.
That's a really, I think, important topic, is the fact that these can change over time. You know, that I found when I was first married, for instance, okay, I'll talk about words of affirmation for a minute. So I grew up just having to be really independent. Yeah, I just had to figure out a lot of things for myself for just various reasons. And I think it's just a spirit of mine. And so I didn't really look to people to affirm what I was doing. I just had it in my heart that whatever I was going to do, I was going to do really well. And so when someone would affirm me with their words, it felt like pity, or it didn't feel loving to me to receive that. But now, after several years, and in the work situation I am in as well, I am in a really great team, and the way and the reason why they affirm me with my words has been really impactful for me. And I found that I am able to go back to the last time that they affirmed me with their words and root myself in reality. Like, oh, yes, I am doing a good job. I don't have to second guess myself. They're proud of me, or they really appreciated that task. When before I didn't want anyone to tell me. Now I just feel like when you have more responsibilities, more things on your plate, sometimes things can feel like they're, unraveling sometimes. And so to go back to their words has been really helpful for me. And I'm curious, with your husband, how you said sometimes it's hard to remember, oh, he likes gifts and I should probably be getting him something. What are helpful ways maybe to try to remind yourself that? Or even my husband, I've told him occasionally, I'd love for you to bring home flowers or just surprise me with something occasionally. And for him, it's like the act of going out of his way can be difficult after a long day of work, or it's not really on the way home to get something. So what encouragement might you have for someone whose their spouse's love language is maybe difficult?
Yeah, I think it starts by acknowledging that even though your love languages are different, that they're still important and they still matter. And maybe figure out think back through ways that you yourself have appreciated that love language to just grow in understanding of that specific love language. I've heard like the words of affirmation. My husband actually feels the same way, which is funny because I find it really easy to affirm people around me, especially my husband, who oftentimes will show me love through acts of service. And so he'll do an act for me and then I will affirm him, but I had to do this. No, you actually didn't. but I think acknowledging their love languages as legitimate, because it's easy to think, okay, for example, like if my love languages were acts of service and quality time or physical touch and words of affirmation, like it's easy for me to see those because I know how I like to be loved. But then if our spouse has different ones than us, it can sometimes feel like they are on two different wavelengths. And it's easy to imagine, oh, their love language isn't like legitimate or like they're just impossible to relate to. But like really spend time getting to know in whatever season you're in, because they change what their love language is in that season. And just, I think just reflect like for a little bit before you dive in, reflect on your appreciation for that love language, your appreciation for being able to communicate your love to your spouse. And then I like to sit and just think about creative ways that I can love my husband that way. And then knowing what his favorite things are. So like Purdue basketball, like absolute favorite thing. And sometimes giving gifts, sometimes it's also the gift of time. And his favorite month of the whole year is March, which is my least favorite month of the year because of March Madness. And sometimes me loving him is just giving him the gift and space of time to allow himself to be immersed in everything that's March Madness and basketball, and knowing that like he is going to step into that world and I can love him by letting him have that time to do that. To him, it feels like a gift and it really rejuvenates him. And then like when we are able to reconnect in April, only joking, I don't know, he loves that. And it's not even a tangible thing. But there are tangible things that I've given him as gifts. Watch or a dog. My husband's a big dog person and I'm not. And I got him a dog. So that was like a huge gift in knowing what his interests are. He also is a really good gift giver because it's one of his love languages. And I've learned to grow myself in appreciation for the gifts he's given me. And so challenge yourself to grow a little bit too. Not just be so set in this is the only way you should love your spouse, but just be open to receiving and giving love in new ways that challenge yourself. And then, I don't know, there's just something about access. So acts of service is big right now. And last year, for the first time, Phil did all the Christmas decorations himself, and he did it again this year. And I did not realize how much of a gift that was until he started doing it. And I don't know, it's just, I've grown to be able to appreciate it. And it's something so small. It needs to be done, yes. But the gift of him, his time, like spending the time doing that has been a huge gift to me. So I've heard of people creating little love books where they write down their favorite things for the people that they know. And I think that can be helpful. Sometimes I have a coworker, her love language is gifts. And so like I spent like a good chunk of time just like sitting and reflecting about what would be the best gift to give her. And it was like the best gift I got like this custom sweatshirt design for her. And it was the best gift she received this year, which made me feel really good. Even if it's not like my primary love language, to be able to know and understand hers and then to just take the time. It does require time. It doesn't always just come like naturally to us. Like we imagine it might, like a movie images of love and romance. Like it's just supposed to be natural. And it's just, you're just supposed to know how to love the people around you the right ways. But you actually have to study the people around you and to like get to know who they really are, not the person you imagine them to be in your head.
Oh, that's a powerful statement right there, because we've been talking a lot. We started at the end of last year about changing the conversation in our marriages. And I think that I've noticed that sometimes I want my spouse to be a certain way, to look a certain way, or I think that they like things a certain way. I picture my spouse differently than he is. And so I love this idea of studying them because they're our best friends. And sometimes you get comfortable in that and you forget that they're worthy of awe and wonder and your time and thoughtfulness. I think, too, something that's important to note is you might very easily give your love in one way and receive it in another way, which I think can be a little tricky too, because you might really appreciate when someone gives you quality time, but maybe you're not so good at doing that for other people, but you're really good at giving gifts. And so trying to also think about yourself and how you've noticed that you love people, or I've also experienced where I think, oh, I really like acts of service, so everyone around me must love acts of service. I think you can fall into either, where we forget that, oh, maybe I give differently than I receive, or maybe not everyone loves to be loved the way that I do. So I like that idea of studying your spouse or maybe people around you too, like a coworker that you might need to get a gift for, and to be creative in that way, because you could words of affirmation, for instance, you could say, oh, I really like, you look really nice today, or you did a really good job. But that might not mean as much to someone who loves words of affirmation. Maybe if you spent a little time thinking about what have they been working really hard on and noticing that and commenting that. Maybe they've had a big project or they did something at the house. And my husband redid our entire front yard last year. And to really notice all of the time he took to plan it out and to do all of his research and to just comment on, I would have never thought of that. That was really clever. And you really researched that and look how beautiful it is now a year later, really means a lot to him when he likes words of affirmation, as opposed to, oh, the yard looks nice. He likes me commenting on the important details. So I think I just appreciate that idea of studying your spouse. Before we leave our listeners, I thought maybe we could just give one or two suggestions in each of these categories that we've already given a couple, but that might, if your spouse really loves this and you're struggling, here are maybe just a couple ideas. So let's start with acts of service. You had said that acts of service is really helpful now. So maybe what's the one or two things that you would say, oh, this would be really great if my spouse did this?
Yeah. The one example was doing the Christmas decorations. And right now it's putting them away because we haven't put them away yet.
Same.
But also doing the dishes or cleaning the shower. Those are like, oh, why is the shower always dirty? I don't know. It's like you clean it and then it's dirty again. And yeah, it should be clean. Showers, water, and soap. It's self-cleaning, right? I don't get this. Those are great acts of service. So.
Yes, I also like acts of service. And I think the acts of service I appreciate are the things that maybe more typically fall on my plate. And my husband he works night shift a lot. So when he comes home, or if he's not working and it's at night and I wake up and he's done something, a task that maybe more typically falls on my plate, that is really helpful. It was an intentional act of service. Yeah, it might be a cleaning task, or maybe it was an email that needed to be sent, or just something that maybe more typically falls on my plate. I like that. So gifts, you just gave some really great gift ideas. I
don't give anyone a dog unless they want it, though. I do not recommend giving someone a dog unless they actually want it.
Good caveat. That's great. Some of just being married, owning a home and trying to fill the home with beautiful things. I think some of my favorite gifts have been really intentional, home decor, maybe sacred art, or I've had some friends who just listen to, what I say, and they know I really like wines. I like trying new wines. And so a friend got me a really nice decanter because she knows I like it. And so I would never go out and get that because it's just I'll just drink the wine from the bottle. It doesn't matter to me. But she, in a glass, that sounds like I'm just drinking from the bottle. But she got me just this beautiful thing, to hear your friend or to hear your spouse and to get them something intentional to make their home beautiful. Those are gifts that I have really enjoyed in my past. For my husband, yeah, just like you said, knowing what his interests are, maybe it's basketball, maybe it's a different sport or a hobby. Jesse has really liked when I've gotten him a tool or something to help him complete a project around the house. Okay, words of affirmation. This one is hard for me because for a long time I didn't like it. I didn't like words of affirmation, so I'm not always good at giving them. But I think the detail, like I said earlier, can be helpful. Do you have any thoughts about words of affirmation?
Yeah, my husband doesn't like it either. And I think acknowledging maybe not just the detail, but like the determination and the effort than just like the finished product, or like acknowledging like you took a lot of time to do this versus just like oh, great job. I feel like there's a difference when you're acknowledging what they put into it versus the end result.
That's a great thought. I love that. I need to do that more. Seeing what the journey was like, not just the final product.
Yeah.
Okay, quality time. I think this one typically can be like, oh, you just sit down and spend time with them. But something that I have appreciated is when my husband thinks of something to do that we're spending quality time doing. So not just, and it is nice to just sit and talk or just be together. But when he thinks of an activity or offers a suggestion of something to do together, that really means a lot to me when there's a little bit of forethought and some sharing an interest too. Maybe it's reading a book together. He knows I like to read. And so offering that suggestion makes me feel like he does really want to do that thing with me. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think like walking or going on a hike together.
Ooh.
That we enjoy. We started taking some like boxing classes. That's fun to exercise.
Fun.
So I don't know, finding ways to do that together or making dinner together, which can be a challenge if you have one person who's like more of a dominant cook. And I've had to learn how to hold myself back a little bit and let him be Phil in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's great. And for us, it's the opposite way. My husband is definitely the chef, and he too would just prefer no help. doesn't want me to be in there. It is fun though to do it together and to allow each other to throw your own spice, your own ingredients into the mix. Yeah, that's great. Which I think is a good also leeway into physical touch. Certainly, there are ways that you can physically connect, but that might be an activity together, like boxing or cooking, like finding a way to interact with your bodies that might lead to more intimate physical touches, I think is helpful. And for me, I think too, if maybe your spouse is having a difficult time with physical touch, asking your spouse, like, where do you like to be touched? Like for some, I don't really like my neck to be touched, but maybe it's your shoulders. If he just comes and puts his his hand on my shoulder, has been helpful for me to identify where my spouse feels loved when I do touch him that way. But I think that it's different for every couple. So just having a conversation about that might be good. Do you have thoughts about physical touch?
Yeah. I think so for us, like we give each other a hug and kiss every day when we come home from work or see each other, or goodbye or whatever. I think that's for us really important. My husband likes me when I scratch his head. And I love it to an extent because you get like all that nasty oil into your nail. It's a labor of love.
Yes. And sometimes that's a fun example of how some acts of service or physical touch might not come as easy or might not be as enjoyable, right, for one spouse, but to allow yourself to grow and expand there, I think is key. I've loved just chatting with you about this, and I hope that this has been helpful to our listeners. We will link the quiz in the show notes. And I pray that we can all be a little creative in finding new ways to love our spouse. We'll see you next time on the pod. Thanks, Stacey.
Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. We would be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Don't forget to check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and community prayer list, read our blog, and register for virtual and in-person events. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.